Human love is a business relationship. It says, I will love you if you do this, and I will not if you don't. Be the version of yourself that I'm comfortable with, and I will love you easily. Deviate from it, and I will make loving you hard. That's human love for you. Divine love, on the other hand, what in Sanskrit we call Prema, is like the sun. The sun doesn't decide who deserves light today, it shines on all of creation. And today we're going to explore this deeper and dive into how we can move beyond human love and into divine love. Welcome back to Lately with Lexi, where I help wellness brands grow and spiritual seekers evolve. Every episode explores spiritual wisdom, business building, or personal reflections from my life. Come hang out as I share what I'm creating, learning, and navigating as a yogi, business consultant, healer, and entrepreneur. Make sure you subscribe on Substack to never miss an episode. Now let's get into it. Most of us are practicing human love and calling it unconditional. And the gap between those two things is where so much of our suffering lives, because even when we consciously know this, we forget. Now, I believe that it is all of our job to remember our true nature of divine love. And we have to choose this remembering over and over again until it becomes our default way of thinking, being, and operating. One of my teachers, Srimanti, says something that stopped me the first time I heard it. She said, all events are neutral until perspective is applied. Here's what that means in practice. Whenever we meet someone, almost immediately, we begin to build a version of them inside of our own mind, a version based on our past experience, our desires, our fears, our needs, any unexamined assumptions about what we expect this person to be. And then we respond to that version, the one that we made up, the one that we built. And it's not necessarily the version of the person who's actually standing right in front of us. And when this other person doesn't match the construct that we created, we feel something, sometimes disappointment, frustration, anger, and then we blame them for it. But it was never theirs in the first place. The projection was always ours to own. Carl Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can actually lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves. He called this shadow projection, the parts of ourselves we haven't integrated, the unexamined fears, the unhealed wounds, and we often see them way more clearly in other people than in ourselves. Rumi echoed what A Course in Miracles teaches and put it this way: your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all of the barriers within yourself that you have built against that love. We spend so much energy looking for love outside of ourselves, in someone else's behavior, in their actions, in another person's approval, or even in someone's willingness to show up in the way that we need them to. Rumi is telling us to turn our focus around. The barriers to love aren't in the other person. They're always within us. Think about a time that you were right in an argument with your partner. You can have 10 friends validating every word of your perspective and still be powerless, because the only mechanism you can ever actually shift is within your own being. And when you are energetically entangled with someone and projecting blame onto them, that isn't their work, it is yours. When I stopped trying to rearrange or control my partner's life to make me more comfortable, when I turn the gaze inward instead, that personal responsibility gives me all of the power to change my relationship to how I respond. That is the Jedi move. Once you understand that, you're ready to look at two very different operating systems love can run on: human love and divine love that I mentioned earlier. Understanding and applying the differences between these two things are what help us let go of trying to control our relationships and create space for the divine to work through us and your partner. By nature, human love is transactional. It is not always conscious, not always cruel, but it has terms. Human love says, I will love you if you make financially sound decisions, or I will love you if you choose the path that I would choose for you. It says, I will love you if you need me in the way that I need you. And underneath these hidden terms is fear. Fear that if someone doesn't perform correctly, we feel threatened. Now, the perspective in Kundalini Yoga says that the highest form of yoga is relationship. That is the biggest opportunity that all of us have in our lives to truly meet the divine. And I think it's because relationships can be very triggering and challenging, and it's something that most of us were not taught how to navigate consciously. And I want to be real with you guys. My partner and I have navigated a lot of uncertainty together, multiple moves across the country to different countries, losing jobs, businesses that started and closed. And let me tell you, fear gets very creative in that kind of terrain. At times, fear can even start to look a whole lot like love, or so we think. We might start giving unsolicited advice or suggestions from this place of, well, I'm just trying to support you. I just want to help. I want what's best for you. But instead of giving the other person the own time and space for them to truly tap into their heart and what the divine wants of them, we're intervening. Now, listen, this is a lifelong lesson for me and probably all of us, that trying to help someone without being asked, it's not helping. It communicates something at a frequency level. Beneath all of the good intentions, it says, I don't trust what's working through you. And then what happens? Well, our partner becomes paralyzed. They're more dependent on our opinion. Maybe they pull away entirely and they're not trusting themselves anymore. The more responsibility that you take for somebody else's path, the more you deprive them of the self-trust that they need in order to walk through whatever it is that they're navigating. The goal is to love in a way where the other person feels free. So ask yourself, how often does your love create freedom in your partner? Or does it create obligation, a quiet pressure to be a certain way, to make certain choices, or to perform in a direction that makes you more comfortable? Divine love doesn't require performance. It doesn't have terms. It sees the divine already moving through the other person fully and completely. Now, this leads us to Bhakti and Prema. These are not concepts that I hold intellectually. They're a practice that I return to, that we all have to return to, especially in the moments when fear is loud or judgment is strong or control is something we're wanting to grasp for a sense of. They're a practice I return to, especially in the moments when fear is loud and the urge to control is strong. Let me share this teaching with you, and then I want to share what it looks like inside of a real relationship. So Bhakti is often translated as devotion, but it's so much more than that. Bhakti is an orientation of the heart towards the sacred in all of life. It's not religious in a dogmatic sense, but a recognition that the divine is not separate from life. It is moving through all of life, through every person, every situation, even the ones that make no sense to you, even in the ones that scare you. And when you relate to someone through Bhakti, you are recognizing God in them, not the version of them that you need them to be. The one navigating their own path, making their own choices, living their own unfolding as God would have it be. Then we have Prema. Prema is the love that flows from that recognition, from Bhakti, that divine love. It's love that doesn't require the other person to be anything other than what they are right now, because Prema sees the divine that's already present in them. And here's what this has looked like for me and my partner for almost 5 years. There are moments around finances, our careers, our families, building our unconventional life together, where fear will come in and want to take over. We start to intellectualize or overanalyze our partner. We offer unsolicited advice. We think out of love, but it's often actually out of fear. Suggestions start pouring out of us on autopilot. Have you thought of this? Have you tried this? What about this? Sound familiar? The problem here is that these suggestions aren't leaving room for the divine to work through them. Our prayer must become, I release you to your life, and I trust the divine is working through you far greater than I could ever know how. Now, releasing someone is not abandoning them. It is saying, I trust the sacred that is working through you. I trust that your unfolding is divine. This is what love looks like when it's not afraid. And here's the thing that brings all of this together. because none of this is actually about the other person. It never was. The real work, the only work you ever truly have full access to, is happening within yourself. Listen, y'all, the spiritual path is a solo journey. There's no way around it. It is us at the end of the road, alone. Okay, a little morbid, I know, but here's the beauty in it. We do not need our partners, our families, our closest friends to be on the same path as us. They don't have to be at the same stage as us. They don't have to be making the same choices as us. And they don't even need to self-realize with us. Ram Dass said, the spiritual journey is individual and highly personal. It can't be organized or regulated. It isn't true that everyone should follow one path. Listen to your own truth. And listen, no one is coming to do this work for you. Not your partner, not your teacher, not your community. The path goes inward. And that is where the real work is. That is where freedom lies. It's always within ourselves. Regardless of the relationships we're in, the life experiences we are having, the opportunity, no matter what is going on externally, is to come back inside of ourselves and cultivate that inner connection to divinity, to experience that remembering so that we can share that with the world. And here's the thing, when you are entangled with someone energetically, measuring your peace by their choices, projecting blame, trying to manage their path, you are not in your own energy. You're living in theirs. And what looks like love from the outside is often a way of avoiding the one relationship you have complete and total access to, the one with yourself and God. Being in right relationship with others begins with being in right relationship with yourself. When you become the frequency of love, not just as a concept, but in your body, your nervous system, and the way you hold yourself in a room, you stop needing others to perform love back at you. You begin to effortlessly hold more space. You have greater capacity. And you affect the field in a way that actually opens other people up, not by pushing, not by correcting, but just by being. The solution always resides within your own being, no matter how right you are. That is the Jedi move. Turning inward instead of rearranging the external, taking radical responsibility for your own inner experience, releasing others to their own lives, and trusting the divine is moving through them. And this teaching isn't a one-time realization, it's a practice. And like many of our yogic practices, it starts with awareness. So start here. Look at the relationships in your life where there's friction, where something feels hard, stuck, or charged, and ask yourself, where are you inserting yourself into someone else's path? And what fear is underneath that impulse? Because I promise you, there is almost always fear underneath it. We may think, well, if I don't intervene, something will go wrong. If I let go, I lose control. If I trust them completely, what does that mean for my role? Give yourself space to let this fear be visible. Notice when your peace depends on another person's choice, when your inner state rises and falls based on what they do or don't do. That is the signal. Not a signal that they're doing something wrong, a signal that you have drifted from your own center. That is the invitation to come back home to yourself. When you are rooted in divine love, you stop needing the people around you to perform a certain way for you to feel okay. You can create more beauty. You affect the field in a way that no amount of advice or correction ever could. That is Prema and Bhakti in practice, being in loving trust, surrender, and devotion to God. And in my opinion, that is the most important work that we will ever do. So ask yourself, where can I lean into divine love? What can I let go of within another person whom I love so that they can access the divine and have that shine through them? Thank you so much for listening to Lately with Lexi. If this episode resonated, I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below, write a review on Spotify or Apple. It helps me reach more people who need to hear this. And if you want to book a one-on-one intuitive reading or energy healing session, the links to work with me are in the show notes below. I will see you in the next episode.